Okay, we're going to listen to our Bible story today, and it is what we call an application story, where whatever we learn from Jesus' miracles and how he treated people, we can apply that to ourselves. If you remember, the other day, we talked about how Jesus healed, actually not only healed, but raised Jairus' daughter from the dead. She had died. And remember, even at that time that Jesus was going to go to Jairus' house, there was a woman in the crowd who had been sick for a long, long time. And all she did was just touch the hem of his garment. The hem is just the bottom part. The hem is this part of his coat, the hem. So it's turned under and it's a nice straight edge. She just touched it, even though there was a multitude of people around. But because of her faith, she was healed from the sickness that she had for many years. And Jairus' daughter was raised from the dead. Okay, if you remember before that, we have the story of the rich man or the nobleman whose son was sick. And at the moment that he spoke to Jesus, his servant told him that his son was healed. Okay. Then we have, you remember, Jesus helps the fishermen. They had gone out fishing. That was Andrew, Peter, James, and John. They had gone out fishing and they didn't have any fish. And Jesus said, well, go out a little further. And they went out and they listened to him, and they caught so much fish that they needed another boat. And even with the other boat, their nets broke or ripped because of the fish. Then the first miracle that Jesus performed was at the wedding in Cana. And this is where his mother had asked him to help out their friend whose supply of wine had been finished, and no great healing as far as healing a blind person or a lame person, just making a wedding couple happy by giving them more wine for their wedding feast. And Jesus did this as a request of his mother. So he obeyed his mother. As old as he was, he loved his mother and he wanted to make her happy. So those are the miracles that we have talked about so far, and you have watched videos. If you want to, you can watch the video. Maybe you'll find a video on Jairus' daughter that you would like to watch. But in the meantime, let me read the story to you. It's called A Party and a Puppy. Okay, sounds like a good story, because I like parties, and I certainly love my little puppy, because I have one. He's not really a puppy. He's about 8 years old, but he's my puppy. Remember to stay away from the dogs, Basha's mother told her one last time. Basha nodded and jumped out of the car. Here you go. Her mother handed her a bag of Valentine cards. Bye, Mama, Basha said, and gave her mother a quick kiss. Mrs. Freeman opened the front door of the house. Good morning, Basha, she said. Let me take your coat. Everyone is in Joy's room. The Valentine party will start soon. Basha joined in the chatter of the girls as they admired Joy's room and her dolls. Did you know we have puppies now? Joy said to one of the girls. Oh, puppies, the girl said. Can we see them? They're all in a pen outside, Joy said. We'll have to put our coats on. Do all of you want to see them? Basha sat down on the bed. All of the other girls jumped up to follow Joy. Joy turned at the door and looked at Basha, still sitting on the bed. Aren't you coming? Joy asked. I'm allergic to dogs, Basha said. Just to look at them? Joy asked. They're in a pen. A pen, remember, is a little closed in place with a little fence around it. Well, maybe if I just look at them from far away, Basha said. She stood up slowly and followed. Just outside the door to the backyard, she stopped. I'll stay here, Basha said to the other girls. She watched the girls run forward to line the dog's pen. Basha spotted a stump nearer the pen. Maybe I could see the puppies from here, she thought. So she slowly walked toward the stump. She could hear the puppies whimpering, but the stump wasn't near enough or high enough for her to see, even as she stood on it. Joy brought a puppy out of the pen, and the girls gathered around to pet it. Oh, he's so cute. They started passing the puppy around. Basha sat down on the stump. Basha, do you like puppies? The girl yelled. Basha sniffed and nodded. The girl was walking toward Basha, and she had the puppy in her arms. Yes, but I'm not allowed to touch them. I'm allergic to dogs, Basha said. Even to puppies? The girl asked. Basha nodded, but maybe just being near it won't hurt, she said. Basha stood up and looked at the little squirming puppy. See? The girl said. Nothing happened. Do you want to hold it? Basha hesitated only a moment. Maybe it won't hurt, she said. She took the puppy and cradled it. Time to eat, Mrs. Freeman called. The girls ran toward the house. Basha stood for a moment with the puppy in her arms. What should I do with the puppy? She called out. But everyone was already inside. Basha walked over toward the pen and quickly put the puppy inside. Then she ran back to the house. Most of the girls were drying their hands and sitting down at the table. Basha hung up her jacket and slipped into a seat. No one didn't seem to notice. She scratched her itchy face during prayer and wiped her watery eyes with her sleeve. Mrs. Friedman walked around and put a hot dog on each girl's plate. Basha was sniffing when Mrs. Freeman put one on her plate. Are you okay, honey? Mrs. Freeman asked. Basha nodded. Mrs. Freeman put her arm around Basha. What happened, dear? Did you get hurt? Basha shook her head. Let me get you some ice. Your eyes are swelling up. Basha started crying. Here you go, honey. Put this next to your eye. It'll be okay. Basha shook her head. I need to go home. I touched the puppy. Oh my, that's right, Mrs. Freeman said. I remember now. Your mother told me. Mrs. Freeman took Basha by the hand. Go ahead and eat, girls, she said. She led Basha to the phone in the living room. We'll call your parents. They can bring you some medicine and take you home. Okay, why does Basha have to go home and miss the party? Okay, because she was allergic to dogs. And so a lot of people are, but I find that more people are allergic to cats because the cat's dander or their fur seems to be more, fall off more easily, and people kind of inhale it. Now, what would have happened if Basha had obeyed her mama? Yeah, she would have been able to stay and not leave the party. But, she's a little girl and she was tempted, and she should have just stayed away and not picked up the puppy. So that was kind of poor judgment on her part. So that's what happens when we know what we have to do and we don't do it. Or we think we could get away with it. She thought, well, if I'm allergic to dogs, maybe I won't be allergic to puppies. But it's the same thing. A dog and a puppy are the same kind of animal. So we find that the poor girl had to suffer because she did not listen to her mother and obey. Okay, so we know we have to overcome temptation just like Jesus did. And we have to, suffer the consequences when we don't do right. And here she is. She has to leave the party. Okay, so you have a workbook page, page 124, and it's like a little puzzle. And it says, use the code to fill in the letters to each answer. And the question is, your friend is afraid of the dark and has trouble sleeping at night. You know that he loves Jesus. What can you say to help him? So you will actually give him the words to tell his friend by following the letters and the symbols that have to be placed in those little boxes. And don't forget your Psalms 4:8. Okay? All right, so that is today's Bible lesson.